The World Champion D Gukesh takes on Ediz Gurel in the 7th round of the FIDE Grand Swiss 2025. Ediz is a talented young Turkish boy, and Gukesh has already lost 2 games in a row. Will he be able to strike back here is the question. Gukesh's last 2 losses have come against Theodoru Nicholas and Abhimanyu Mishra, and e4 by Ediz, and Gukesh responds back with the Karo Khan. He plays c6, and it was the same opening that he played in round number 1 against Etienne Bacro. d4 played here, and now Gukesh pushes his pawn to d5. Ediz goes e5, gaining space in the position, and bishop to f5 played. Now knight f3 is what Etienne had played, but h4 is Ediz's choice. h5 by Gukesh. He also tries to gain back some space on the board. And now pawn to c5, c4, striking in the center. And the main move here is e6. He pushes his pawn to e6. Knight comes out to c3. And black plays knight to e7. Ediz brings his knight to e2, and now black has an opportunity here to win a pawn, but it's not the best. Knight d7 makes a lot of sense. The knight comes to g3, attacking the bishop. You want to protect the bishop, so bishop goes back to g6. This has all been seen before and is considered to be a very interesting line for both sides. Bishop g5 pinning here, and f6 is played, but Gukesh goes queen b6, which is also considered an interesting line. Now rook c1, you can chop off this pawn, but first Gukesh goes f6, and you can see the time on Gukesh's clock. He has 1 hour 40 minutes while Ediz has 1 hour 43 minutes. So both are well prepared. G takes f6 taken here, and now the bishop moves back to e3. Black can long castle here, but why not snatch the pawn, says Gukesh. He goes queen takes b2. It is his preparation here. Pawn takes pawn by Ediz, who's also in his prep. And now knight takes on d5. Ediz captures back, knight takes d5, and you can take with both ed or cd. He decides to take with the e pawn, keeping this solid structure here. And bishop to d3, it's an important move, because notice that the rook couldn't go to b1. The bishop was controlling that square. A check to the king, and king to f1. Gukesh snatches the bishop on d3. Queen takes d3, and you can see here black long castle. So in return for all his pains that black has, he has an extra pawn. Rook b1, you can see the king is a bit weak here, but Gukesh believes in the solidity of his position. Queen to a3, offering a trade of queens. Ediz declines it, and now queen a4, keeping the bishop protected. He goes king g1, and Gukesh brings his bishop back to d6. 20 moves have been completed. Some insane prep by both the players, showing what modern chess is all about. Bishop c7, and now I think Ediz thinks for the first time. He takes some time, pushes his pawn to g3. Gukesh also starts to think now. Knight b6. He wants to get his knight to the c4 square. King g2 makes a lot of sense, and Gukesh can go knight to c4. Yes, he brings his knight here. Pawn could come up to b5. The black knight is well positioned here. Bishop h6 is also an idea. He goes rook b1, putting pressure here. Gukesh simply plays b6. And Ediz goes a3, a move that maybe looks a bit slow, but he didn't want to lose that pawn. Rook e8 by Gukesh. And now bishop h6 is a very, very good move, and Ediz finds it. Excellent play. He's going after the h5 pawn. That's a weak pawn, and then the white h pawn would be very strong. So that's the idea mainly. And now rook to e4 played here by Gukesh. White has an idea with rook c3 and rook b4, but instead Ediz blunders here with queen d1. He's missed that black can go back knight a5, threaten the rook. Rook has to move and the queens get traded. Once the queens are traded, the end game is just clearly better for Gukesh. So knight to a5 comes in, and Gukesh finds that move. Rook to f3 played by Ediz. And now this is clearly a better position for Gukesh. He takes on d1, queen takes d1, rook takes on d1. And Gukesh goes rook to h7. He's clearly better, and well, this is close to a decisive advantage for Gukesh. For Ediz, it's going to be a tough task to recover from here. He goes bishop g7. Maybe a simple way to play now is knight c4 with the idea of b5. He goes rook e6, defending the pawn on f6. Makes sense. And Ediz goes bishop to f8. Wonder what his plan is. Maybe it's knight g7 to attack here and the rook. Knight comes into c4. And Ediz now goes knight to g7. I love how he's fighting here. He's creating issues for Gukesh, who was clearly better. Now goes rook e2. And taking here would be wrong because of knight e3 check, and that would be game over. So king f1. He brings his king back, attacks the rook. Now rook d2 is what Gukesh does. You can't take the rook because of knight takes d2, but white can take the open file here, rook e1. So while Gukesh is pawn up, look at these three pieces, four pieces in fact, which are meandering around the king here. And rook takes d4. Ediz takes the pawn on f6. Gukesh pushes his pawn to c5, protecting the c6 pawn from being captured. And now he goes rook f5. He's after the h5 pawn. You can take on a3 and then go into this race, but instead Gukesh goes for a check. I think what he wants is to block the e file so that the rook cannot enter in. He brings his knight to e4. But now the h5 pawn falls. 38 moves done. Gukesh down to 3 minutes. He pushes his pawn to c4. The position still even, but Ediz is getting his counterplay. He goes knight f6. He wants to push his h pawn down the board. Knight takes f6 and rook takes f6. It's important now to play king b7. Just bring your king up. Play this carefully. Or even rook d2 is possible. Gukesh now, with just a minute and a few seconds on the clock, blunders with rook d3, and that is on the 40th move, which means Ediz will get 50 minutes to make his next move, and it's the move that will create a lot of problems for Gukesh. h5 is the move, because if you play rook h5, then I can simply go rook f7 with rook e8, rook e7, and you will lose the bishop. That's the problem, and Ediz finds it. He plays h5. Brilliant play by Ediz Gurel. Bishop goes back to d8, and now rook d6 seems to be the move. He goes rook f5. Gukesh back in the game with his chances now. c3. Pushes the pawn to c3. And pawn to h6 played here. The pawn goes up to d4. And now rook to c1. He goes rook to d2. And king comes back to f1. The idea now is bishop e7. Because somewhere you notice that you need to get your bishop into the game, otherwise these pawns are going nowhere. And Ediz goes g4. He's planning to go g5, g6. Gukesh chops off the pawn on a3, which is a blunder. He had to take here, which was an insane line that led to a draw. Look at this line: king b7, g5, rook b2, a very key move. And then you kind of sacrifice your rook and play d3, which is a draw. But instead he goes here, bishop takes a3, and now Gukesh takes the pawn, but now his position is lost. g5, fantastic chess, because when you give a check here, king g2 and take, the bishop takes back, it's protected. So rook g6, king to g2. And Ediz Gurel doing this in style. This boy, just 16 years of age, is showing his tenacity after getting a close to lost position out of the middle game. He's now fighting so hard and has a great position. And this is a lovely move because the bishop was a bit precariously positioned here. He's rerouting the bishop to f4, and from there it will be doing a brilliant job. Bishop f4, rook to d3, and now rook b1. Yes, he plays rook to b1. b6 pawn is hanging, and these pawns are going nowhere as the bishop controls this square. Look at Gukesh. He knows that the writing is on the wall. There is no way he can defend this. And yeah, he's very upset. He's trying to look at the board, but there's nothing much that he can do here. This is going to be his third straight loss in a row in this tournament. Not such an easy pill to swallow here, especially when you get such a good position. But Gukesh, well, he's a fighter. He'll be back. For now, he's wounded. And Ediz took the full opportunity there by making some brilliant moves, fighting hard. And it's time for Gukesh to call it a day. He resigns. Ediz wins. A win against World Champion is always very special. And for Gukesh, it's going to be a long way back to his hotel room here. The tournament is still 4 more rounds to go. He's on 3 points out of 7. And in the next round, Gukesh will face Divya Deshmukh, which will also be not an easy battle, considering the form that Gukesh is in. And there you see Gukesh getting up, still remembering always to pay his respects to the board. But what a job by Ediz Gurel. A huge congratulations to him and all the Turkish chess fans. They have a lot to cheer about in this tournament. We have someone joining us from Samarkand. Wow, who is it? Man. Oh. Wow, maybe this is a big news here that we are going to reveal, I think, through this video. We have a very special guest joining us here in the live stream all the way from Samarkand. The young Turkish talent is here, Ediz Gurel. Hello, Ediz.
Hello.
Ediz, we are just following your games because there is a 15-minute delay. But the fact that you are here means that you managed to beat the world champion Gukesh.
Yes, it happened.
Wow, that is insane and incredible. Congratulations to you.
Thanks a lot, first of all.
Yeah, that is... tell us your initial feelings. Just we can look through a few variations and in critical moments. I'm pretty sure you are very tired, but just your initial feelings.
Yeah, I felt quite bad like during this middle game because I just thought I had some bad position. But the main problem which led me to having a bad position was me missing knight a5, and I had
Okay,
to trade
you're
queens
directly
after
going
this.
into the lines. I need to bring up the position on the
Okay,
board.
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. So you played. Were you surprised with Karo Khan or you expected it?
Not really, because I saw him playing like these lines usually against 27 and lower opponents. So I expected something else other than e5. I also checked e5, but I knew this line pretty well, like when we're in this complex theory. But he knew a bit more than me, so
Yes, I mean, at some point we were like, wow, these guys know like everything. 21 moves you guys blitzed out at this point. Takes, long castle, rook b1, rook
yeah.
b3. I think you knew till
Yeah, I knew till bishop d6, and after this I was on my own. Like I just knew king g1, and engine was giving some slight plus.
right.
But after
And
this, I don't think I played so well
you
because he
played
puts
g3 is
like,
a good move, right? To get king g2 and the
yeah, I
rook
guess
out.
so. I mean, I should move the king, so. But knight b6 was very logical, like king g2, knight c4. Like he's just putting the pieces to right squares. I was actually considering knight e7 here, which looked pretty interesting. But knight e7, he goes king b8. I can go rook h b1. But I think he just goes bishop b6, and I couldn't see how to continue.
You are right. Yeah, this
Yes,
position
probably
is
around equal there.
correct. So here you went
Yeah,
rook
so I played
b1.
rook b1. Yeah, he went b6. I thought maybe b5 was also an option, but he chose b6. Also logical. Yeah, I played h3. I didn't want to give the pawn. I mean, it was hanging and it was pretty annoying me.
Right. Rook e8. And now
Okay,
you
this
found
was
a
very
very,
logical.
very nice maneuver of your bishop. Was it easy
Yeah,
to
the
find
main
this?
point of this opening is to get the pawn on h5, I think, because it's very loose and queen is out of the game a little bit. So I thought bishop h6 was pretty smart, but what I did next move was not smart.
Yes, you played this move, queen d1. Did you miss knight a5 or?
Yes, I completely forgot about knight a5. I looked at many options and suddenly there's knight a5 and trading queens. I'm down just a pawn and now I have to suffer.
Right. And so right now, the engine was saying some rook c3 stuff, but I don't even know if it's easy to understand
Well,
like this move. Yeah.
okay, I'm not sure. Like I was checking a little bit, but I didn't understand the point. I guess we're threatening rook b4 and then we want to take the knight, but
Yes. Yes, something like that.
yeah,
Because
logical.
it's interesting that you could have done this, and if rook e8, you have knight g7, as you said, h5 pawn is loose. So,
Yeah.
but you went queen d1, knight a5, and at this point, it's quite easy to kind of get very upset with yourself, right? Because you are a pawn down, and
Yeah, I
you
did get very upset, but okay, I went to bathroom and I tried to calm myself down. I just wanted to keep on fighting.
wow, that's incredible. Rook h7, then you got bishop to g7, and at this
Yeah,
point,
I wanted to create some counterplay with bishop f8. You know, I have to bring my pieces in, otherwise, like he just has too many pawns in the queen side. So I was expecting rook f7. I was a bit surprised with knight c4. Like, rook f7, I thought I would not get the pawn back. Knight c4 after knight g7, I felt like maybe I'm already having some chance.
because your rook is coming here and you're going after this pawn, right?
Yes, also f6 is hanging. You know, it's starting to become pretty complex now. Yeah, rook e2, I have to play king f1 because I think his idea was if I take rook f6, he has knight e3. And
Yes.
after king f3, he takes rook f2.
Oof.
Yeah, and king
Beautiful.
f2, he doesn't even take knight d1. I think he just goes knight g4 and takes the other rook.
That's great calculation. Amazing. So
Yeah,
you
so I
went
had to
back.
play king
I
f1.
think whenever you went king f1, it was a good move in the position. Like now, then later. Nice move.
I'm not sure about the other one, but hopefully. Yeah,
Rook
rook d2
e1.
actually gave me hopes. I was expecting rook e1, rook e4, sorry. Because if I take rook f6, there's bishop g3, so I don't think I can take it.
Wow.
But I thought I would play something like rook d3 instead of rook f6, and yeah, game goes on.
True.
Yeah, it
True.
looks like I'm just a bit worse.
So when he went rook d2, you got your now two
Yeah,
rooks
I got the
active.
open files, so now many pieces are looking at his king. Looked a bit scary from his side. Yeah, but he still played pretty well, I mean, during this point. Yeah, knight d2, king g2. He played knight e4.
Knight h5.
Yeah, knight h5. I was expecting rook d2, but I was not so surprised with c4. He needs to push the pawn sooner or later, so... Yeah, knight
And-
f6, the trick is if he goes rook f7, there's just some knight d5, so he has to take.
nice
Now I
one.
felt like, yeah, I started having some chances after we traded knights.
This was the final move before the time control, 40th move.
Yeah, and that's where the blunder came, I think.
Did you feel it that rook d3 is a blunder?
Yeah, I was actually not at the board, but I thought like one of the ideas I have is h5, but I'm not sure if the rook is when the rook is on d4, h5 is working. But when the rook is on d3, I can surely go h5 because
Now
okay, if he
takes and
takes,
you
I
just
go
come in.
rook e8. Yeah, I thought rook e8. I don't know, rook e7 is maybe better. King b7, rook f7. I thought.
Sorry, rook f7. Yeah, that's also very
I
strong.
mean, I'm just getting the bishop, so yeah.
Amazing.
Because otherwise, if I don't push h5, it's very hard to arrange to push those pawns. I need a lot of moves. But h5, h6 came in very quick, so...
True. Bishop d8, rook
Yeah,
f,
that was logical.
right?
Oh, that was a mistake.
Yes, I think the engine was suggesting to go rook d6 with some very crazy
Yeah, I
lines,
considered it, but I didn't understand almost at all.
which
I
is
mean, my only idea was to go rook f5, so... And then rook c6?
and now come to g6 somehow.
Wow.
Something like this the engine was suggesting, which was very difficult to understand, but maybe the rook is better placed on g file than on f file.
Yeah, this is a bit too tough for me.
for anyone, I guess. But rook f5. And now
Yeah, it's a
the
very complex position.
game became again very, very exciting. And I thought
Yeah,
here
I thought...
you must have calculated this direct line g4.
yes. G4, I thought he pushed c2.
Yes, g5.
I can push g5. And I thought he would take bishop g5, actually. I was also checking d3. Bishop g5, rook g5, rook f7.
Wow, man, what a calculation. Amazing.
Yeah, and this I didn't see, like, exactly if I'm winning or not. It looks, like, very complex. I don't know. He has these two pawns. He'll also push d3. He's taking f2, so... I thought actually it would be a draw, like, in some ways. So.
Right. So rook d2, king f1. Well, that's why I thought king f1 was trickier, because here you keep more winning chances.
Yeah, he has to be, I think, super precise here. Bishop
Actually,
e7, g4.
here the variation which ends in a draw was very interesting. I don't know, bishop f8 is the drawing move.
Oh, this is a draw?
Yes, because
I
take
thought it was losing, but
g5
g5?
and rook
Rook
b2, which is like insane move. I think this is the toughest
Wow.
move, because now g6 takes g7 and you take here and d3 and it's a draw.
Wow, this is crazy. And rook d8, I guess you just play c2. Oh no, c2 there's king e1. Wait.
Rook c2.
Okay, this line's too much for
It was
anyone.
the only, I think it was the only variation that was leading to a draw. So I think it was too tough.
This is very crazy, yeah.
And so when he took here, maybe it was too difficult to find.
I actually thought bishop a3 was like the only chance, because bishop f8, I just thought I'm queening. Like, there's no way you can stop it, so...
I think rook b2 is just too much to find. Like, move your rook on b file. What
Yeah, normally you should try to think about pushing c2, you know, trying to arrange d3 or something else. But yeah, it's very weird.
And
Okay,
here,
rook h6, yeah.
you thought you are winning, yeah, now? Or was it?
Yeah, I mean, looks winning, but it's still not super clear. Like, there's some technique needed. Yeah, I play king g2. I was happy to see Rook G7. Like King D7, I thought would
I
be
didn't understand
maybe
the
a bit
point
better.
behind this move. Did you figure?
Yes. No, I think like King D7. The problem is like I was checking Rook E1, and then he should play Rook G7. It's like the only move to keep it going on. So he just played it immediately. But after he played it, I think he just gave me Bishop D6. My bishop is pretty badly placed on H3. So I just moved it to a much better place, and I just go to F4.
Nice. And Rook D3
Yeah,
and
Rook D3. Yeah, Rook B1, and now he's just losing the pawn. And King B7, there's Rook F6. And Rook G6, there's also Rook F6. And I'm just, if he takes, I just queen. So I decided to resign.
wow. Ediz, this is a very interesting game, a very fighting game. What does this win mean to you, beating the world champion?
Yeah, it surely means a lot. I'm pretty happy, but I'd like to do it in some other tournaments where he's like in some good shape, doing better and so on.
Yes, you are doing incredibly well after this game. You are already moving on to 4 points. Yaz is also doing well from Turkey. So, really beautiful time for Turkish chess fans. And do you have any aims in this tournament? It is remaining 4 rounds.
I think not. I'm just aiming to play good chess. I'm pretty happy with this game. It was complex. Okay, I missed something, but after that, I think I played pretty well. So
Yes.
I just need to keep on playing well because I'm not so happy with like first half of the tournament.
Well, we will be looking forward to your games. Thank you so much for joining
Thanks a
us
lot.
and showing us these amazing variations, and congrats once again.
And thank you.
Bye. Guys, that was
Thank you so much,
Ediz
Ediz.
Gurel, all the way from Samarkand in Turkey. Sorry, Samarkand in Uzbekistan. A huge Turkish talent. This boy is too good. We discovered him some time ago. He had won the Prague Challengers in 2024. Then he played in the Prague Masters, and he's just so good. He's so good. And he and Yaz are two players who are going to dominate the world of chess in the years to come, I'm pretty sure. And Turkey has so much to look forward to in these two talents. So, really, really, it's phenomenal to have him here